All right, here we are. We are live.
Very nice
Welcome.
intro.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Welcome. This official welcome for the Citizen Science Podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Rebecca Benningfield, and I just want to welcome you all and thank you for being here. We already have a few viewers already, 16 already, so that's great. And first, just let me introduce who else I have with me. I have Gillian Watson, and Gillian is in Scotland, and she's been part of Sam's group for many, many years. They go way back, so it's awesome that we have her and her expertise with us. And then we have Leighandra Gordley, and she is one of my co-admin over on our Facebook group, Nibiru Followers Anonymous. I know you know. And I'm happy to have her with us too. She's actually, in the short time that she's been with us, I mean, she has learned more than most people have. She's really excelled, but she's worked at it too. So it's good to have her.
Are you in Northern California or Southern California?
Northern California.
Okay, so did you feel the quake the other day?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I messaged quite a few of the group chats about it because it was so intense. Definitely top two strongest that I've ever felt personally.
Was it up and down or side to side or both?
So it was both. It was at first it was side to side and then it was up and down. So I was explaining to Gillian earlier, it feels like somebody like jolting you awake. Yeah. So you're like shaking like this, but the aftershocks, they feel like you're on a roller coaster. You can feel the waves as if you're in water. And it was wow. Scary. It was about 15 seconds of really hard shaking. And I looked around and I said to myself, is this going to stop? Because, yeah.
Also, that's a lot bigger than because they downgraded it also within like 2 hours to a 3.9. But if you're feeling that, and if the duration was 15 seconds, that's a pretty big earthquake. And the next question is, was it an aftershock from something else going off somewhere else that they didn't report? Now, the reports I did hear, it was like 8 miles down. So, that's not your normal 10 miles down, which is like the base of the fault line in your area. But then, Northern California starts reaching up into the other tectonic plates, the Juan de Fuca offshore, and then the Pacific Northwest plate, which is, Oregon and Washington State, etc.
Right. So, I had asked a few people that live, in surrounding cities around me, and some of them didn't feel a thing. So it was on the San Andreas fault, right. But I felt it here for sure. And my bed frame,
ocean side of it, yeah.
My bed frame is metal. I have a heavy, heavy California King mattress. That thing shook like super easy.
Yeah, the only ones we get here were like 2.1 or something like that. It was like little ones. Didn't even notice.
Your fault line is to the south of you between England and Scotland. And that's where all the locks are pretty much in the area of. That's the fault line. The northern part of Scotland is moving to the south-southeast. South-southeast. While lower England is moving to the north by northwest. And those two plates rub against each other, and that's what created all the locks and those two continents, or the two islands meeting together, etc. in the past.
Interesting.
Oh, long years ago.
I studied geologic fault lines and that stuff too, so. Hopefully everybody has their popcorn and their soft drink or their iced tea or whatever ready for.
Right.
And thank you for listening, everybody who is here today. And if you returned, thank you. And if you're new, well, then we got a ton of info for you. That's all time proven. And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. Right. Let's go ahead and I'm thinking of where I want to start today. Let me pull some things up. I've been How about, hang on.
I've got my cough drop pulled out,
There's just I'm really busy on getting the podcast set up, I haven't made as many comparisons as usual, but here are some I've worked on.
Love that.
Let me get that comment moved. Hang on 1 second.
I'm reading thumbs up, but I'm sure Dennis meant thumbs up.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Subscribe, share, thumbs up, smash the like button, as they say on YouTube. Get the bell notice for when these things come on.
Right. I don't know. I just love those ripples. Every time I see those in person, I, always will stop and go take pictures, because I already know that that's a sign that, they're close and the pictures are good that particular day. So.
Yeah, even when I was sitting in the car and I was sick, I thought, oh my word, look at that sky right in front of us. We're waiting for the chemist.
I know. I mean, I love these colors. I love them when they're like this, the purple and the blues.
That's too funny because I was just discussing this exact picture and I think Montana Skywatcher 2 this morning. And I was talking about the different colors and how it's a little tricky because if you think it's to the right of the sun, you're thinking about is Saturn and or the moon and Nibiru, but it's actually to the left of the sun. So we got other planets in that direction. So that's funny.
It's really stretch out. It's like amazing.
It's the overhead thing too. It's going over our heads now, and so placement is almost gender neutral on left or right of the sun because at one point in time it's left, and then you watch it go over your head. And then it's right of the sun, and then it loops back later on in the day as the transition of the sun goes.
Yeah.
So it's also very confusing lately. What's what? But then of course we revert back to the to the light illumination and the base cloud, and then size, and then placement, and then color. So
that took me years and years, and it was so easy, but it still took me years to learn that. And then I remember when Sam, he just left a comment basically saying it, in that order, and something clicked that particular time, he said it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So if it's on the right side of the sun, you look at his drawing and there it is, it's so easy because it really is there, except, they're not always just packed together like they are on a sheet of paper. They're all spread out. It's like that sheet of paper is curved 360, and they're all in their perfect
also
places.
Once you see that heliacal little video that there is out there, actually you see the spiral. So you actually, then one time Sam was talking to me for hours and hours, and he tried to explain about how they move and they kind of loop and spiral, and once you see that, that's it. Yeah, that's when you realize, all right.
Right.
If you go to YouTube and you type in spiral helix orbit model, you'll come up with this and several other videos.
This is my favorite one, this one.
Yeah, I like that. I think this one has a binary. They also have a binary video available. But yeah, this is how we travel. We do not travel in a circle on a dinner plate, same space year after year in our solar system. We actually travel in a radio wave-like pattern down and then start straight up, and then we get to the top of our galactic plane in the galaxy, and then we dive down again, and that happens a process of every 300,000 years or so, which is what is depicted in the Mayan calendar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just amazing, isn't it? It's beautiful.
It really is. And I'm just thinking, I never heard of this until a few years ago. Like this model here, I didn't even know it existed to think about it. That's just, I know most people don't even know about it.
That's part of the electric universe basis of information. And most people aren't even ready to understand orbit model on the dinner plate, that we're not even on the same plane, and there's planets that are higher up, lower up, than the plane level of space that we exist in. And this is part of why I never ever agreed with Einstein's consideration of dark matter holding us in place while the mass of the sun pulled us forward and all of this, and it's such a inappropriate description of what really actually happens that it leads you to a level of confusion once you see the reality, and then your brain isn't going to allow it.
Right.
Yeah, everybody.
I was talking. No, I was going to say I was talking to a lady a few days ago, and we were having a nice conversation, you know, and I got into telling her about this podcast and the group on Facebook, and it was kind of like there was a switch that got flipped. I mean, her eyes just kind of went this blank stare. She changed completely when I started talking about planets, solar system. You know, I don't know if she wasn't ready, what was going on inside.
Yeah, the eyes glaze over and then they turn off.
Yes,
because then a lot of that sometimes is people go, well, this is beyond me, and then they quit thinking about it. They kind of shove it aside and go, I'm not listening because I don't understand what you're telling me. And that drives into one person will go, oh, I need to know more, and another person will go, well, let's change the subject.
Right. Yeah. So we're back to this. I mean, I'm assuming most people listening right now know what we're talking about, but just in case they don't, we should, kind of give a brief description, of the topic of the show. Sam, you want to just lightly go over what we're talking about?
Well, the picture we're staring at is Nibiru, and Saturn's yellow moon, and is Saturn behind it. And we have been watching these planets come in larger and larger and larger ever since 2010, 11, 12. That's where we had abilities to watch them in the northern hemisphere better than just using live cams and Antarctic cams and Mexico live cams, etc. And then we over the years, I love that. We over the years have documented the base clouds. We've documented placement. We've documented behavior. We've semi-documented size because it's impossible to actually judge, except by the older pictures that we used, going back to 2012, 13, and 14, when the planets started coming in large enough that we could see them individually and understand some of their early behaviors and colors and facial patterns and cloud patterns. So over the last decade, we have continued to document all these events and the passing rotational changes, because sometimes our out view goes on one side of the sun, and sometimes they move over during these transitory periods, which take many, many months to occur. But we've documented their placement through site drawings and through sharing of information around the world, through amateur citizen science submissions that prove that what we're seeing high above Earth is the same on one part of the planet versus on the same side on the other part of the planet, which therefore indicates that these are not just clouds. And then, of course, we've spent over a decade documenting this, so we have actually gotten all of this information down to a stage where it's an automatic, instantaneous, we understand what's going on. That's why we share what we share.
Bada bing, bada bang.
Here's a question for Sam. They're asking if you ever read any of Zecharia Sitchin's books.
I read most of the first one and parts of his second one, and at the same time, my father was handing me other books in Buddhism, so I could remember this. And that was in the mid 70s. And then I switched a lot more over to Buddhism and stuff, because during this period of time, I was also trying to not pay attention to my attention that I had received. So I was trying to look elsewhere for other things. So no, I didn't read a lot of his books, and I frankly should go through some of his older information. And I do have current descriptions of the alphabet, of the cuneiform alphabet and everything else. So I should spend more time. Chock full stories of Nibiru, yeah.
I was just going to ask, how accurate do you believe Sitchin is?
Well, unfortunately, a good portion of the information is cross-referenced with these archetypes, either gods or planets, and the descriptive natures and the names and everything are complicated. and misleading. And so I didn't get into a lot of it. And you have to have sort of a level base understanding before you read and comprehend. I mean, you can read it over and over again and it still won't make sense to you until you can place some of the archetypes in your own mind. And that's where I start learning, is once I go, oh, okay, I see a correlation. And then once you get a correlation, then you have a different level of understanding. Just same thing with the Colburn Bible.
I just opened all my book boxes. I was like, oh my word, there they are, the Zacharias Sitchin ones. But I remember when I first seen them, and I thought they were actually, well, they're called the Earth Chronicles because there's several of them. I worked in the library and I thought, well, they gave me the books to pack initially. And I found 4 of them maybe in the teenage story section. And I thought, but this doesn't feel right, because I'd seen 2 other ones and they were in the nonfiction section. So I took them and I put them. Yeah, some of them said teenage fiction, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was chalked up as, mythos or spiritualistic or and the science world has a tendency to, if they don't believe something, then they'll downplay it, and then they'll shoot them down and isolate them and ridicule them and everything else, because a lot of scientists who think are comfortable in their paying job, they sometimes don't want change.
No, they'll just say what they're told to say and keep their nice house and car and whatever.
And tenure. Yeah.
Tenure, that's the word. Mm-hmm. That too.
So
my uncle was a science professor at Edinburgh University, and he had always said to my mum, oh, that girl, she's also going to be, I wish I could have had her in my class and that. I would have been teaching her about science and that. But when I studied teaching, I found that science had a lot of holes in it, especially for when you were trying to teach the children. So if you feel there's holes in it, how can you teach it to young people when it feels so incomplete? I don't know how other teachers feel these days, because they don't really teach the electric universe now, do they?
No, not ever.
No. They don't want to ruffle feathers.
Like I said, I never heard of it until a few years ago. So I feel like I'm the norm. Most people don't even know it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
well, they've killed all the classes that I went to school, and I'm older than most of you here. They changed the curriculum from where you actually learned advanced chemistry, where you learned advanced science, where you learned trigonometry and geometry and the the erosion table thing in class, where you could see what erosion did, and they taught the sciences and taught you how to think for yourself and how to build things. And I had shop class, I had metal class, I had wood class, I had home economics, where I learned to cook and bake and sew with a sewing machine and sew by hand, and how to sew a button on and how to put a zipper in, which I still don't do well. So and then we had PE, and we had all of these additional courses that aren't even touched in today's curriculum. And
you wonder how the kids are ever going to look after themselves, because
frankly, I think Common Core is insane.
They're not.
I've done major equations, and I think Common Core is insane. Why? If you do it with 1, why do you need to do it with 3? 3 examples of cross. What are you trying to do? You're trying to put a round peg in a square hole, or a square peg in a round what? Why? I looked at Common Core, and I actually got irritated by how and what they were putting you through just to answer their question, to get it correct in class.
Yeah.
I thought it was insane.
It's unfortunate. They don't teach any valuable life skills in most schools these days. And it's sad, and it's showing in the adults that are being produced, because
they're producing healthy, happy children, but not people who freely think and do things for themselves. They're teaching, unfortunately, a level of that society is going to take care of you. They don't even teach you how to get a job. They don't teach you how to go to college. They don't teach you how to acquire student funding. They don't teach you how to write a checkbook. They don't teach you. I went to school, and we learned to do our taxes in school. And they don't teach any of that anymore. I would love to know what they're teaching. I'd probably walk out halfway through the day screaming.
You would not be pleased to know what they are actually teaching because it's not good.
You sound like you actually have experience of it then.
Oh, a little bit. I was just talking to a previous coworker of mine, and we worked in the housing development arena. And it was with a lot of low-income families and former foster care youth. And it's really sad because they come out of these systems and they're supposed to be, good to go, get a job, live independently, and they cannot. They cannot because they haven't been taught the necessary life skills. They don't know how to clean. They don't know how to interact with their neighbors in a respectable manner. They don't know how to pay bills. And these are, basic life skills, and they just were not taught. And they're expected to go and live independently, and it's not possible. It's not possible. Yeah, it's not good.
Sad, man. Look at that incredible picture. Look at the fingers on that thing. Beautiful.
There is a question.
Yeah.
And I've read it a few times, and there's a few inaccuracies in the assumption in the question. And I apologize. I don't mean any offense by this.
Mm-hmm.
It says, what do the Pleiadians want? Well, we'll start there. The Pleiadians, like humans, they are very much like us facially. So we are comfortably recognizable to them. We've seen many examples of their influence on planet Earth in tribal behavior still to this day, and I don't need to go into major explanation of that, but there is definite presence recorded in history through some of the social behavior still in some smaller tribes in Asia, etc. They, like us, they are a higher power of the Federation, which want to see us furthered and allowed to enter into the Federation, as just like entering the United Nations. And that's why I always say they're the ASPCA for humans. Is there a way I can get, what was the rest of the thing? And it said, it was about channeling, because I don't see the question.
Channeling. Yeah, channeling.
And what they're channeling. Pleiadians do not channel. Their channeling is a metaphysical term for people who think they're getting messages from God, etc. I am not a channeler. I far-see. There is a difference between far-seeing and channeling. With far-seeing, and many of you who are able will automatically understand this. You get these impressions in your mind, and you get a series of pictures, and you get a series of smells, and a series of body reactions and vibe, where your brain is thinking in a manner that is, I'm not going to say not normal. I'm going to say atypical. And it's like all of a sudden you're floating out on the ocean, and then here comes that wave, and then you either decide not to get on your surfboard, or you get on your surfboard, and then you ride the wave. So when you ride the wave with far seeing, you get these impressions and you get these feelings, and then you have to sort through what you're seeing, and it's not always correct, but it's generally a very strong impression. So you get to work at an advantage around others around you. So the Pleiadians are directly involved with humans on a regular basis because they study us regularly. They send their students here to actually do studies, scientific studies of the humans, including animal studies, just like we send, young college students up to Alaska to study wolves and jump in a helicopter and, dart them to sleep, and then they weigh them, and then, they take a skin sample and a hair sample and a blood sample, and then, saliva sample, and they test the health, and etc. That's kind of how they function dealing with us, because they want to see us move forward. So I can't fully answer the question by saying it's channeling and what they're going to benefit from it. It has a tendency where they would like to see, and they're good, kind, wise, highly advanced people that see us in a political situation with having a right to actually evolve up higher.
Would it be more correct to say that they communicate telepathically rather than channeling? Or is that even?
Well, some of the races do have telepathic abilities. Mm-hmm. And when I spoke with the Pleiadian, I actually spoke. We were talking, and this was for a couple hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, something. I time threshold at that point because of the effect of the human off switch was messing with me pretty badly. But and that's why I got to talk to them, because they can't keep me asleep. And whereas normal average humans are turned off, and then they test you and take your blood samples or do whatever it is that they do. And then they put you back, and then it takes you anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour to actually functionally return to reality. You have some motor body skills and stuff, and you wake up and you actually function, but it's sort of like waking up from a really groggy sleeping pill or a really bad hangover, and you're not composed right away. Music.
It sounds similar to like what people say when they astral travel, but then they come back to their body, but their body's not yet ready, so they're kind of like in between.
That's an electrical difference where you're actually too relaxed, and then your accelerated astral body doesn't quite crawl back as easily as it wants to.
Yeah.
I've seen examples of that within myself, and I choose not to astral travel because I know there's other stuff out there the moment you do.
Yeah, you don't want to travel through that stuff too much.
Well, you go outside your plane here, and then you're subject to anything that might be a whole lot mightier, bigger, stronger, greedier, hungrier. You're stepping into a world where you don't have standard abilities that we rely on in our normal lives. You're walking, into a strange land, and I'm not into astral travel for that reason.
Yeah. You're playing by other rules at that point. So
yeah, you need to know what you're doing first.
Hey Sam, what do you think is happening here?
I'm tempted to say that's it's a planetary light flash.
Oh, look at that thing.
I think it's an illumination off the side of one of the planets and has nothing to do with the volcano.
Yeah.
Because we got to remember that Marshall Masters and his buddies spent 3 years staring at, or 2.5 years staring, I don't want to over exaggerate, but spent 2.5 or so years staring at the same volcano because they once saw an occurrence above it. And I would say this is the side illumination of the faceplate of a Saturn's yellow moon.
Cool.
Look how big that moon must be, like how close it actually is. Wow.
Saturn's yellow moon is currently huge, and if you look from the light flare all the way to where it goes 2023-09, it may say 08, I don't know what the date is exactly, I'm trying to see, but at the end of that date right there is literally the size of a Saturn's yellow moon. And then behind it, filling all the way past the ground horizon level, would be a Saturn. But yeah, I think that's an illumination of the side plate of the Saturn's yellow moon.
Okay.
Stunning.
That makes a lot more sense.
Nice.
Like that side, but that's all of it.
Right. It kind of appears like it looks like it's like kind of pinched out right there,
Yeah, like something big goes past it, like
yeah. And then it's like pinched between, two different objects. Yes.
We know that shape.
Yeah, you can see one there.
It's rotating.
And you see the dark effect on the entire right side of the screen compared to the left side of the screen.
Right.
And that tells me that, it's the only thing that it could be, because it's not a generational electrical occurrence from the explosion of the volcano. Yes, the volcano is actively putting out gases, but we don't see an electrical discharge. So, and which also happens in explosions and tectonic plates crunching together. When rock and plates and things are being ground up, there's a release of energy, and that's where all that electricity comes from, and discharges to the nearest body, even up in the sky. It'll jump to a wet, illuminated, or hydrated cloud, the very moist cloud. Those lightning bolts just dried up because all that electricity from the crushing rock is being released.
I was just going to say, for those that are curious what the yellow moon and where, it's, right to the right of our sun where it says Y.M. So that is.
That was a May depiction. That screen save drawing was from May of what, 23?
Or
what? No, that's May of 22. So we're looking at The yellow moon is much, much bigger currently right now in, of course, October of 23. And so that's what we're staring. This was taken in September 8th of this year. So yeah, and at that time, Saturn's yellow moon was drastically very in our face. Now she's actually going over us. Or earlier, they weren't going over us until the late evening. And now it's over us probably in the late afternoon.
It was sure.
Ooh, look at that one going past. Wow.
I would, the white illumination, is always, I know Atu's moon. Is there anything else that makes it get white like that? An opacity, maybe?
Well, Uri's space does that.
And Uri?
Uri, Uri behind, but this is the size of what we're looking at. And okay, what's the date? Can anybody see the date on this?
It's 4/28/2023. So
this is May. In May, Uri face was very strong, and Atu's moon were still going over us. So this is most likely the face of Atu's moon, and then Uri illuminating behind that afterwards, and just a momentary light breakthrough. When the planets do cut off the sun, there have been days where we've literally been almost completely cut off, and then you can see that cold wave of cloud comes in, and that behavior is from when we do have a planetary light blockage. Then all of a sudden the temperature drops, and you'll have
that's wild.
The United States for the last 2 weeks we've had these mystery super fogs that have caused these hundreds of cars accidents where they just rolled in so fast I couldn't believe it.
Terrible.
So they're calling it super fog. Well, planetary shadowing will do that.
Super fog.
Super fog. Oh wow, they didn't think hard about that name, did they?
No, they're not that creative.
Yeah, and of course we're dealing with people that went to school, and we were just talking about education ratio. There's a bell flare. Bell flare. Oh, I love that picture you posted today, Rebecca. That illuminated pinch.
Oh yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah, Puerto Rico.
And that was a reddened copy of the one that we've used for years. The one, and I posted it on Skywatcher 2 today on yours.
I'll pull it
up. It
up.
Shows how many years does it take for you to see the passing planets. So
this date is April 28th, 2023.
Yeah, and this is light shining between Uri and between Nibiru and Saturn on the right, and that's why it's bell shaped like that, because it's a reflect cutoff flare. It's a flaring, and if you look
Rebecca,
over there,
can you go back?
That's the illuminated ion tail.
Look at that thing.
No. This one, because you could even see like the pinkish purplish coming.
Yeah, look at it, the glowing.
That's where I always say you're looking at a illuminated refraction color from land masses. Otherwise, it would be all the way around the same. You're looking at bodies above it and beside it, because we know a Saturn and a Saturn's yellow moon are right there, and they're very red, and that's that red purplish line you're seeing on the upper right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to load those pinches in here real quick, and we can look at them.
There was one after this and you backed up back to this. Go to that next one that you were at. Yeah, see that illumination right there? That's ion tail.
Look at that.
Is it? I couldn't tell what was happening.
Angle of light.
Because it
goes all the way to the bottom of just above the cathedral. And you could sort of see a white circle of the illumination of Saturn's yellow moon in a refraction. And that's the illuminated ending of where the light is shining underneath the clouds and the planets that are there. And that's why that's illuminating. But that's the ion tail of a Saturn. And remember, we talked about this in our last show, where like a week or two ago, I saw it from by eye, and it went from one end of the sky to the other. So it's currently, and I don't, this is in May also. So, that was when it was beside us more, and now it's more over the top of us. So yeah, it was farther away and elongated. It's much bigger now, much wider. But it shows you that there's something there briefly illuminating through a transitory, it's a matter of minutes, and you got to get out there and watch it occur. And if you know what's causing it, then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, and then you can attribute it, and then it also sticks in your memory better.
All right. Let's see what else we have here. These are just some time-lapse videos from a guy I follow in Japan, and I grabbed some of his videos this morning. I've learned more.
To see them moving, isn't it? To see them.
I've learned more from watching time-lapse, than anything else. But you see the planet, you can just see for just a few seconds, it just peeking. Sorry, I'm going to back it up. But just for a few seconds, it peeking through right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is, and then it kind of hides behind it. It's clouds again. And you can tell we're seeing clouds from Attu's moon and Nipicity for sure, and Uri. They're just all right there.
Mixing together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing everybody doesn't take into account is that they do move and they get closer and then they go over the top of us and then they round over to the right and then go back, and it's doing a really weird oval now.
Remember this. You see that, right? That's what's happening. That's why, it's looking like this. It's swirling and spinning, rotating.
And now that they're going past Earth and above us, we're seeing a completely different approach and then spin pattern than we did even 3 years ago.
It makes so much sense if you try to overlay that video about the spiral vortex with the time lapse. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
You see.
Right,
yeah, because look at the movement. The movement just says it all. I mean, it's moving constantly. And people seem to think things are just in a row, something like that. And they're not.
Yeah, and of course, remember, watch the dark areas, not the light areas.
Yeah.
And that, if you start out at the dark, you will see the oval, the ball, the forming and getting closer and moving. But if you watch the light, then you're going to be distracted. That is, of course, most likely the moon, because it was on a arc rise. And we know that core pattern. And that's rotating Nipicity over the top.
Yeah, this streaks.
Yeah, it's got that
forming now it's forming into Attu and Attu's moon, because that right there was the lead asteroid group. And red.
You said right here. Let's see, right here.
Yeah, you can see it there.
That's base core, and then behind it, and right in front of it, is lead asteroid. Red asteroid is dead center. Spiral asteroid is behind it, plus the other micro sisters and everything.
Wow.
Sam with the good eyes. I'm like,
I know.
That is so good.
Tails, the tiniest ones, yes.
And the cube is back there underneath and behind all of that, right there. That's going over the top. That's that rotation. And it comes in, and it goes right back to the drawings that we draw over and over again, monthly after month.
Oh, I love this one.
So is it in a fixed orbit, that cube?
It's underneath Attu's moon with the asteroid groups in front of it, and it's been there since 2019.
And it doesn't budge. That's the one that stays there.
I bet you that's Uri pass right there.
Sorry?
I bet you this whole video is of Uri going over the top of us. Because of
all that gray stuff.
Uri. And then it changes. Look at that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can see clouds.
That's this month. And we know
several different objects.
We know that Uri's been going over the top of us all the way into the western sky during the day, and it's of course changed. But I'd bet money that's Uri.
Look, about to do a
Yeah,
Uri
look at the
right.
gray.
Those little
That's
tiny
all the gray stuff.
microclouds.
Yeah.
Those microclouds are not in our atmosphere. Those are the atmospheric clouds of that planet. And of course, we've turned away from it by this stage. And there's the moon and I believe Jupiter or Saturn. I think it's over on that side this time. And there's a rotation of something over the top, which is probably Atu's moon heading back to the left. Who knows? I'd have to, of course, seen it by eye. You can't be. It's not a perfect science at this because it always is changing. And if you look to the right, there's like lead asteroid, and it's always rotating over you. So the movement and transition is a real hard call until you see an absolute shape. Like, for instance, the lead asteroid has its defining stripes and cut edge and facial pattern that we've watched over the years. And same thing with Nepesity, same thing with Atu's moon, object cluster group. Once you realize the patterns, it helps in your identification of what you're watching as it goes past you. And it's always, of course, the opposite of what you assume in some cases. Every time I plot this in my head, it's different.
Hi, Monique.
You're welcome, Charles. We do try. We're not perfect at this, but we've got enough documentation that it's absolutely undeniable. This may be blowing a lot of people's minds, but you don't get these sky effects because people who haven't been watching this haven't realized that our skies have drastically changed, as well as our weather and planetary orientation. Versus the sun cycle versus the moon cycles. Jesus is always reminding us that we don't see our normal moon cycles anymore. All of that's changed, and then they come up with new names for like the dipping moon and all this other crazy shit. So you got to
and then big surprise.
Someone just asked me recently. They said, "Well, didn't we just have an eclipse? How are we going to have another one coming up in, I think, a couple days?" Something
annual and all that. Yeah. Your friend Michael's here, apparently.
Yes.
Michael,
I was going to say hi to Mike, my friend Mike. So I'm glad I sent him a message because he always wants to catch our show. So I'm happy he's with us. So, hey, Mike. Him and his friend Terry hang out and watch the show together, usually.
Well, I have quite a few friends in Lolo that say they watch it. So,
yeah,
let's just hope people from Lolo. And if you guys give me your names later, I'll give you an actual shout out. And that way you get semi-famous in your area,
Let's see. Yeah, someone, Freezy Peach talks about how the time lapse definitely changes your perception. Which it does for sure. I mean, you can see things in time lapse that you would never see just standing and, watching it idle.
Yeah, but our absolute best documentation is where we get some of our stills and where you just, you cannot deny that that's a planet standing there. We have some that are so good and everybody just goes, oh, wow. This has to be Photoshop, and we, of course, do not do any of that, nor do I know anyone that does that. We don't Photoshop. We don't do anything other than allow some of our members to colorize slightly. We ask that you do very little colorization when you turn in your photos. So, and there's certain stuff that we can't use that people do send in and they continue to send in. And then there's a bunch of stuff that we do use. And I appreciate every one of you guys that sends me everything all the time. And that's how this works, is we have taken the time to compare from shots from around the world, and live videos are good. We ask that if you're going to do this, pan slow. Don't make us seasick having to watch your video, please. If you're going to send in files and stuff, which is how I best agree with, rather than one picture after another, please make a file. Give us the best of. We don't need more than 10. I prefer 8 or less, because if I have to watch 50 pictures from everybody that sends them in to me every day, well, guess what? I'm not going to get it all done. And so the best of, pan slowly, Don't colorize your stuff. Never, never, ever shoot through glass. We're always fighting that one. We get some real great captures, but then we have to weigh it. Is this through glass? Glass doubling, glass tripling, you know. Airplane shots are really tough because we know for a fact that airplane windows have 2 layers. So not good unless your camera's mounted on the outside of the airplane, you know.
Jody R is watching from northern Alberta, Canada, and says hello.
Hi. Yeah, and also I want to acknowledge this remark from Third Eye Cam, and yes, I will go back and see. I might have it. I remember working on it. It's one of his videos that I made a video out of. So,
well, it would be on YouTube then. You just have to scroll back off of Nibiru Followers Anonymous off of YouTube.
Right, and I might have even more in my Google Photos, maybe.
I probably watched it last week.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Sam is
somewhere
a repeat viewer. He watches them every week, he says. So
yeah, I go through the scroll sites and check view numbers, and then I go through the troll sites, and then I go through, you know, the other stuff that other people are sending me to. And
yeah,
there's a lot. We're busy.
I told you to leave those troll sites alone.
Oh, I'm just watching their view count. I'm not clicking on them, and I don't really pay attention to what they say.
Lost Julian.
But I watch their view count, and I see some of their artwork and everything, and I wish they were on our side. And then I wish they took 5 seconds out of their time to actually look up our information that we've documented and proven for over a decade. And boy, if they did, they'd perhaps be minutely swayed. But then there's the angry people out there that aren't going to listen to anything we say, no matter what. So,
yeah, and the underlying fear of what is. So
yeah. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, and you can't make me.
I'm
waiting for Gillian to get back.
You got to be a con man. You're ripping people off by telling them fake, and all of this stuff is member submitted. We've developed all of this information because of the time we've taken to prove it, and we were hesitant on the information early on and very careful. The last thing I want to do is tell people a fib story, but this is where my hand drawings come in ahead of time, so I can draw what we expect, what we know is coming, through my abilities, and B, through pattern recognition, C, through what we've seen over the last month and decade. And so we know what's going on. It's totally mind-boggling. I mean, every day I still go from both sides of the story, like this can't be, and yet it is. Every morning, I mean, every day I go through this, and then we do these live chat shows, and then I worry about, oh God, did I say too much, or did I not say enough? And and I weigh all of this too every day.
Yeah.
So I made a little file of. Julian sent me some pictures. I asked her to send me a few, and then I went through some pictures that she has sent me over time, and added to. So I thought we would.
Love it, so cute.
Some of you, I know what I'm going to do is each week I'm going to spotlight one of us, one of our pictures, or our favorite pictures for in Sam's case, but. We're going to do spotlight each week. We'll start with us, and then we can branch out and do other members in the group. And so for our first spotlight, we're going to do.
Wow.
Yeah, you're the number one, Julian. So, okay. Yeah. Wait, come back. Anyway.
Let's see what you got.
So this one, how long ago was this, Julian? Do you remember?
Oh, wow. That looks like last year's ones.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't get the date added, unfortunately, but I believe that's
maybe this year, because see this, everything I sent you from what I was busy doing with.
You have at the far right, next to the window in the first peak of the house on the right, you have the green asteroid.
Is it?
And directly above the central chimney, you have the blue asteroid at the middle left. Right next to the chimney on the left, of course, is a lead asteroid. And there is a micro dot in the upper right next to is Saturn's yellow moon, which is the side orb of the long box cube.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, if you really like
No.
squeeze your eyes, you can see the cube. But
You can
that's
see
crazy.
the long box cube. If you look at
Yeah.
the dark area and that dark shadowing
Yep.
and the mist trail that it leaves behind, and we know that if you find the side orb first,
Yeah.
and look right behind the side orb, and boom, there's the long box cube. And I usually find the side orb before I find the box cube itself.
Me too.
Because
right.
it usually has a smoother, brighter crescent to it, and it stands out. And we know the green asteroid is patchy because it's got those little illuminated outside things. And then we know that the blue asteroid, of course, has that central dot to it. And we know that the lead asteroid is sometimes very, very bright and yet clouded in and yet nondescriptive. And yet you can see the lines in it, which is what usually leads you to the lead asteroid. And of course, it gets smaller and larger and smaller and larger. So it's always messing with reality. And that has to do with rotational arc under the gas giant Atu.
I just love it when it's really, really detailed like that. You know, you can just see like these big rocks.
Yep.
It looks like, rock-like shapes.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of them.
The texture shots just do my
Right.
brain in because it's like.
And then if you look to the back of these things, they're leaving these long trails through the sky, in this evolution of pathway and rotation. And if you watch it over time, you'll actually see it turn a corner where the planet above it is turning, and their facial attachment, which is almost tidal lock, which means where it's stable in one place versus the larger body, they'll swing a corner, and when you can see that, you kind of go, wow, that turned, and there's a side example.
That's
and it's being
another
illuminated from the light that's breaking around the planet Uri, which is that brighter area above the red windowed house area, not the tower, on the right hand side. That's the edge of Uri. And you can see all of these layers of asteroids that are rounding under the base of Uri into the light on the left-hand side, into the light coming from the right.
So, yeah, it's just like Gillian's. Really.
Including spiral asteroid dead center.
That's a match.
Check it out.
Cool picture, Gillian.
Look at that shape. It looks like Batman.
You have lead asteroid, red asteroid, spiral asteroid, and above it to the middle left, Texas cube. In front of Atu's moon, and
yeah, kind of like that.
Yep.
And we know this because it's a repetitive pattern.
The reason I chose that picture was because, it doesn't look like it's really anything.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
really very
in this
significant.
occasion with the picture, lead asteroid is much smaller.
Okay.
And that bluish object you're looking at is Saturn's yellow moon with the ion tail wrapped around it. In the upper right-hand corner, that blue circle is Saturn's yellow moon.
Yeah, there.
I like this one a lot.
The lead asteroid, so you'd need a picture. The drawing picture should be the lead asteroid being smaller. And then it would match exactly.
I liked it though, because you can look at where the lead asteroid is in her capture, and you can see like the drag off marks.
It's correct that the angle of the sun to the lower right of the sun is accurate. It's just that lead asteroid is just a little too big. Small. And that, of course, has to do with time change and why the drawings change. Even though certain people say they don't change, I chuckle at that. Well, you didn't draw it.
And perspective.
Facebook user wanted to know where these are taken. These are taken in Scotland now. I used to stay in Gordons Bay, but now I stay in Nairn in Scotland, which is in the Highlands in the far north. Yeah, that's where they come from.
Woo.
I wonder who Facebook user is.
I know. I don't know.
I know. I know. Just so everybody knows that, let me pull the banner up that shows you. But if you want to be able to show your name and your picture and you're coming from Facebook and it just says Facebook user, you need to go to that website, and it will automatically direct you to click on a approval that will let Facebook access, or let StreamYard access Facebook. That's a mouthful. But anyway, and that way your name and picture can be shown if you want it to be shown. You just got to give it the approval. So, but this was just what, a week or so ago, wasn't it, Gillian? This moon pic?
Oh, it was amazing. I took that when I was at the holiday park. That was probably around the 10th of October, like somewhere between the 8th and the 10th of October. The sky, you could see the moon, and it looked like a dark object was just above it. And they talk about eclipses, you know, but see, they sometimes don't even see all of the stuff that you see or talk about.
Time that we had that red sky, and I saw 2 crescents. So that's probably about
So
the
this
same
was
time.
the morning. This was really early, like 6 a.m. or something.
Oh, okay. Well, but that was when that same axis of illumination was. That I don't think I ever recall seeing the moon illuminated on the left side, unless it was years ago, where it used to be that there would be a quarter moon, which would be a sliver, where you'd see a crescent, not this bottom illumination, and then it would move to a, you know, all the way through the phases to a half moon, and then 3/4 moon, and then full moon, and we don't see that anymore. And this is what Jesus is always talking about, is the standard course of the moon, the phases, and it's not the same. And I saw during that red sunset thing around this same date, and I did see 2 definite crescents there, one larger one in front of a smaller one, which had different tips. That you could see the smaller one had the tips that stuck out of the front of the other one behind it, so you could definitely see they were 2 crescents, not just one.
2, yeah. This looked like there was definitely 2 objects, and some of these, like they're really enormous, and I always think, oh, nipicity, and then on its side there's these little objects that kind of glow, and I don't even think you maybe have names for all the things, Sam. There must be things there that are just like
well, generally
extra.
we have all the biggies. As I'm looking at this, I would, if that is not a lens flare, of course, it does have tree refraction in it, so yeah, it's probably a lens flare, because see the leaf dots in this green object in the middle upper right.
Yeah,
I think the leaf. I think that is a lens flare cut off of that tree branch. But yeah, I see a planet over the sun cutting it off.
Oh yeah.
That dark.
Yeah, and I see a base core you know, by the poles there, so it's entirely possible it's an opacity cutoff.
I just remember all the years that I would look at pictures like this, and I'd be just studying and looking so hard for a planet, you know, not realizing that it's staring me in the face. You know, nothing.
Yeah, you're looking for the little blip thing.
You can see how it goes straight across, right above the sun, our sun.
And it's not a straight line like clouds. It's not a horizontal cloud. It's almost an over-elongated oval.
Yeah, and it's dark,
like a turkey platter that you serve on Thanksgiving. That oval. That that's.
Let me give you some more
by the way, that's also what I used to draw the big pictures of. I use.
Do you know what? I also wanted to ask. There was one thing I wanted to ask as well. It just popped into my head again. Sorry. You know how when you're looking at it and it's that deep blue, but it's like a cutoff as well. You know? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like it's like over the sun.
Light blue to deep blue, and it's, you know, and then you look on one end of the sky and it goes all the way across over to the other end of the sky, and excuse me, that's not normal weather. That's not clouds. That's something above. And this is where, you know, all the comparatives come in. Like if they see that in your area and we see that in our area at the same time, or majorly close to the same time of day, this is how we surmise what we have already come to. And that's how it works.
Yeah. So that's what this is. This right here is that planet that
yeah, it's amazing.
Look at that.
I love this one. I love it.
We're gonna pull that one up.
It looks like a big curtain getting pulled down.
Yeah.
And also, those two pictures also show the axis tip. When
Right.
planets are on one side of the sun or the other, they either have a right tip, a neutral tip when they're directly over the sun, but when they go over to the left side, then they'll have a left tip axis, just like, there's the drawing. And this, they're showing it's a right tip axis. And then there's the open core. And we, there's never been cores in the sky in my entire lifetime of watching the skies, because I paint and I've studied the sky because I like to know how to paint clouds. And that has a great deal to do with color and depth and everything of a landscape, etc. It's part of landscape study. But anyway, this axis tip has been also documented over the years, from when the planets went from the left to the right, to the right, to the left, back and forth. And we noticed these axis tips. And I, of course, have drawings for that. And
why do you think that Nepicides is so just... Is it because of the open core, so we see it more?
Right, and Nepicity
Obviously.
is smaller. Nepicity is way smaller.
Yeah.
So we get a better view of her, even though, I mean, when she's right directly over the top of us, spilling the sky. But, that's like if you walk up to a wall and look at it an inch and a half away, you're going to see nothing but wall. But if you walk 5 feet away, then, that kind of thing. So, Nepicity does the weird core thing because I'm sure it has an odd gaseous atmosphere. And its pole, like all the poles of all the planets right now, are putting off these weird electrical auras or auroras. And I think a lot of this electrical transfer, if it's a majorly metal planet, I would imagine it has a more dynamic core. And we've noticed that Saru has a huge, unbelievably large, thick, illuminated base cloud core. And we also noticed that Nepicity has a 3 clouded, it's like these 3 lines of clouds on the bottom of the base cloud that forms below the planet, but yet it creates this open core. And we've documented that in the snorkel and then the rainbow. And that, of course, is effects of the smaller planet, where these larger planets have these massive, massive base clouds, and they discharge and all this other stuff at greater amounts and more repeatedly. And then they have particular, Nibiru has its one, and Uri has its one, and Saru has its one. And Saru's got 2 major rings in its base cloud, but its core base is so thick, it's so illuminated, it's probably some sort of an asteroid field or electrical, God only knows, but it's quite predominantly different than Nepicides.
Someone had asked in the last show, but I didn't see it till later, what you meant by core patterns. And I think what you meant was basically.
I remember that one. Oh my word, it looked like a face. Oh, sorry. It just looked like a gigantic rock face.
Yeah.
The planets have an atmosphere, and they have a base cloud at the southern pole, and they have another cloud at the northern pole. And if you go to some sites on YouTube for Antarctica, it shows you this weather pattern. And this weather pattern has to do with the rotating planet, and it's a smaller bottom of the planet rotating quickly. There's more rotation at the southern planet than at the middle, because it goes slower, because the smaller area has to spin at the base, at the axis tip. So it's this weather pattern, and I believe it's an electrical as well as atmospheric occurrence effect.
I was wanting to agree with Gillian. I love that. I was trying to find, I had a few others that are similar, but just so everybody knows that you can see that rounded object is the leading asteroid.
It's big.
It's huge.
It looks like an egg on a spoon, man. You just couldn't miss it. It was so
like here it is bigger.
In that picture that was just on, right behind it was the red asteroid as well.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, it's that darker blue to the left. And then behind that, almost to the edge of the picture, where there's a light bottom illumination, that's the spiral asteroid.
Oh,
cool.
And we have so many of these matches.
There's a little triangular chip up front of this, way in the micro.
You can just see. Sorry, Sam. I just said you can just see how it's like this asteroid that is just pulling, a load of, clusters of asteroids behind it.
Yeah, look at that on the side.
Pretty neat. Right.
Yeah, it's a whole group. Now we literally saw the lead asteroid coming in really early, and it was illuminating, and it was self-illuminating repeatedly, and we've got hundreds of shots of that over the years. And they it's just like they're like a lead dog flashlight to the star. And then we didn't discern at first that the larger planets like Saru and Nibiru were actually blocking some of the light, because we were seeing the dark side of them at the time. Even on 2009, 2010, there was illumination issues, and we saw this you could almost call it like the Jesus star. We saw this star blue thing with blobs around it, and one behind it coming in and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that was 2008, 9, 10, 11. And then when they came up from underneath us, 12. And then northern hemisphere, it's 13, 14, 15, etc. Yeah, there's another lead asteroid. And you can see the red asteroid is at a different plane in this one. It's higher up above.
So you guys documented the incoming lead asteroid before you saw Attu or Attu's moon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could see the lead asteroid was glowing all the time. And that goes to like 2010. We kept getting these pictures. Everybody would send in their picture. We'd be looking at so-and-so's town. And even on semi-clear, mostly clear days, there was this illumination. And it had this little shaft of flat, planed out horizontal light and this little tiny vertical shaft on it as well. And these little
wow.
I think that's another,
that's another lead asteroid. And we saw this coloration blob off in pictures over and over, and there it was, and there it was, and there it was. And then I started blowing them up. I've got a couple of them to this day. And I started blowing them up, and that's when we started getting the early lead asteroid self-illuminating pictures that we've documented and cataloged. And we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of captures of it and them. And including, we talked about the other day, we talked about the big three, and we barely ever discussed the big three asteroids. And they're upward, real close to Attu's moon in the back middle of it. And so we don't often get a view of it, because it's usually off people's camera shots, because it's probably above them, because people have a tendency not to look straight up. They have a tendency to look out. So we have less sightings of that. And yeah, there's numerous repeated shots of the lead asteroid and the sister asteroids.
Oh, lovely.
That would have tripped me out to see the lead asteroid coming in, being illuminated, and then a couple of years later realizing that is really small in comparison to these planets.
Keep that picture here for a second.
Okay.
This is a close pass of one of those asteroids. And that, the spiral is sort of doing it. This looks like one of the bigger ones. This may have been lead asteroid trail. And when it mixes into our atmosphere, it turns up and adds to it and discharges and creates space water and atmospheric water. And we've documented this happening. God, how many times, Rebecca? 6, 8 real close scenarios where we got picture after picture after picture, and then it went away.
Right.
Picture after picture. It's like 5 or 6 times now, so maybe 6, 7. No, it's 5 or 6. I don't want to exaggerate, but we've seen enough effects that this is going right over the top of us, which is why a lot of people freak out and go, "Oh my God, these things are going to hit us." No, they're attached to the passing planets. Now, if you look at the bottom, where this white house is on the right, the sky is light blue. And if you look on the upper part of this picture to the left, it is dark blue, which tells you it is Attu and Attu's moon. And the illumination is behind us, and so therefore it's over the top of us.
And dark blue doesn't always mean just Atu or its moon. It just means planet.
No, it depends on what time of year, when it is, who's who, and where's where. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the facial pattern, it reminds me more of Atu and Atu's moon.
I think so too. I was thinking maybe Atu, but yeah.
It's bubbly, but I mean, I could be, this could be Nepesity. I mean, Nepesity has pockmarks too. And I am occasionally incorrect, but I say what I think. And that's, opinion.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, there's another example of it.
That's Nepesity though, right?
Yeah, it could we could be seeing an open core Nepesity cloud, but is there 3 of them?
I can't tell.
Well, it's hard to say because Atu's moon is a lot of times in front of Nepesity, and below Atu's moon are the asteroid. You know how they all just kind of mesh together. I do
definitely call that a roll cloud. We could call it a base cloud, roll cloud, or we could call it an asteroid. Now that where you see how it curves.
Oh, that is beautiful.
That shows rounding. That shows you that rounding of an object that is orbiting underneath something else. Amazing. Skipping past us as it rounds.
Hey, Sam, Sherry's asking us about which asteroids are metal.
Oh God, probably half of them. Half of everything out there is either metal or rock, or mixed therein. I mean, you have some asteroids, and it depends on the size of the asteroid. If it's a rogue asteroid, it probably is jagged and edgy and broken and made up of sort of rock material and dust and gravel ground together in piles over millennium. And then there are objects that I'm pretty sure are made up mostly of vast connective metals through either, and with the lead asteroid and all these discharges and the electrification of it and the transfer of ion energy through this thing, I think it has become a harder base.
Excuse me a minute. Something fell.
Okay. Hope you're well.
Let me ask, because I know somebody's going to take what you said and have questions about it. Now, when you say a rogue asteroid, what exactly do you mean?
A rogue asteroid is some asteroid that's been knocked freely from our Kuiper belt between Mars and Jupiter.
Okay.
We have this asteroid group out there.
Bear with me.
And occasionally go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, occasionally one of them will come in. I mean, there's tons of junk around Earth, and everybody thinks there isn't. I mean, there's just so much stuff out there. Let's not even begin to talk about satellites that we've put up there. God, we have space garbage galore up there. But there's a lot of rocks floating around up there, and they don't see them until they break into the light. And a lot of times there's stuff that, we're not seeing fly right there. It is, oops, and it goes by us, and we don't even know. And they're finding them, every day, every week. Still, and that's why I check the NEO list regularly.
Yeah. I just saw a report from there, and they said there was
a rogue asteroid is something that gets knocked out of place by normal activity that's freely, and those are described by NASA in orbit patterns, including Earth orbit pattern. Now we have to separate that and say that the asteroid patterns, orbit patterns attached to the gas giants from the secondary solar system are not included in that orbit pattern. They are a complete separate orbit pattern, unhinged, unattached to our solar system.
So basically, a rogue asteroid can be described as something that is no longer electromagnetically attached to a larger body.
No, a rogue asteroid coming from our Kuiper belt is an asteroid that has been free floating for many millennium. Broken up material that keeps getting broken up or added to, depending on the compounding effect of its material. So a rogue asteroid is something that gets knocked out of the Kuiper belt and it comes into inner solar Earth orbit area, comes within area of Earth, and is not electrically attached to anything else.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I just wanted to point out those asteroids right there. You know, we talk about streaks a lot, and
Look at them.
it's like, there they go.
So look at them asteroids.
And then this is so perfect for Nepicity, guys. Like, watch this. It just like touches down and says, hello, here I am.
Here I go.
And you could call that the 3 layers right there, the 3 rings.
Yeah.
See the axis as it tips past that direction? The axis is tipped to the left.
And then another asteroid.
Is this still in Japan?
No. This is kind of a combination of places. Yeah.
Yeah, that's illuminated at Two's moon.
When that's done, so watch it again.
Do just that. Oh my gosh. And it's amazing every single time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that unique shape.
Rotation of the body above.
Yep. And when you see the sun shining through it, it's like, wow.
Yeah, light refracts through the atmosphere of those planets as well, and it does do a bounce around, weird illumination.
A whole bunch right there. Ooh.
Yeah. And the idea is to, you know, look at the dark, not the light.
Yeah.
First.
If you don't look at the dark, you're going to miss most of it.
There it goes. You can really see it well right then and there, just spinning by. But this one,
and I will always again say that sightings by eye and by camera still shots are still the best, because you get the highest definition, especially if you take a series of photographs and then you can see minute light changes over that few minute period of time where you're getting the perfect side illumination where the angle of light has changed from what you were watching before. And then all of a sudden you start to see the body. And for the longest time, it just blew me away why we couldn't see them as well. And then I had to, of course, cross-reference the fact that we are not in Hollywood watching a movie. And the
like
light
right there.
angles, the light angles change.
This.
Of course, we did watch them come in when they were a hell of a lot smaller, so that we also had the benefit of learning all of that ahead of time.
I was going to say that particular effect where it's just this striped, you know, swinging by. I see that with Nepicity like all the time. Don't you know, Sam?
Oh,
have you noticed that too? That whatever that is, you know.
Yeah, because we've had early passes of Nepicity and stuff like that, and you know, that's part of where it used to.
Here it is again.
All the time. Yeah.
Here it is again.
You get that.
It's a changing pattern when the show is going on from month to month to month, and yet we kind of wonder what we're seeing, and then it just about like we said, I don't know 100 times, but about the time you figure out what's going on, it changes. So it is hilarious.
Yeah, just to damage your sanity some more.
This is kind of how I first learned and saw Nepicity. It wasn't with, you know, the stripes in the sky or anything like that. It was like this, and you just see the colors.
Right. Like that whole blue area is Nepicity with other things in front of it, like F2 probably.
And the axis tip, base, cloud, etc.
So you got the blue area is planet, and our atmosphere is the orangish color at the horizon. So it's just,
people always ask you why you can see the stars through them.
You see any stars? I don't.
No. It just came to me. I suddenly realized that people have asked me that.
At night, we're looking away from them.
Yeah, and just in case somebody's going to ask that again.
The passing planets are between us and our star, and their star is behind our star, so that you can count that even different. But there's a lot of room between 93 million miles.
Yeah. I feel like people also need to contribute to the spiral vortex video. Like, we're not just stationary, we're constantly moving. So
Right, we're going up and down and up and down, and of course
Yeah.
that takes a couple of months process. We're just about now to go into our fall orbit.
Yeah.
And well, or we already have. I'm noting that the star changes and everything else. So, and this is part of why. Oh, speaking of which, oh my God, did we get snow? Holy
Yay!
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen pictures Tanya had put up. Yeah.
Yeah, we got
crap. And we got cold. I mean, it was 14 degrees yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Really?
I got 4 inches of snow on the ground, and I don't got my lawnmower's not put away, and I got to go out there.
Is your roof ready, Sam? Is your roof ready?
Oh yeah, I have a metal roof.
He's ready.
Yeah, I glued it down the last time the storms tore the
You won't be up there doing nails again, will you?
probably next year. And it wasn't nails; it's big long screws.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm a girl.
Yeah, well, I'm up there all the time trying to, replace the smaller screws with larger screws because of weather. And we had some stuff go through here in 2019 and then 18, I think. Also, I fixed my roof, and then I got new damage on a different area, and that ended up with some gnarlies that I still am like worried about. And that cost a bunch of money, and et cetera, because it was a hell of a storm. And it was from completely the wrong direction where our normal weather does not come from, which is why the roof got ripped up in the first place in the center.
Yeah, I remember it was just before I came here. So
we got some snow up in Tahoe too, I believe. I don't know how much it was, but we got some snow.
Oh yeah,
got snow in the Cairngorms too.
Well, if you watch that weather pattern that just came over, two major hurricanes on the southern Mexican coast off in the Pacific.
Yeah.
And that one hurricane, I can't remember, I think it was Otto. I may be wrong. I can't remember what the name is because I didn't memorize it because they were short. And it went from a category 3 overnight to a 5 and then hit Acapulco. And if you look at Acapulco right now, they got wiped out. Oh, Christ, did they get wiped out?
I just mentioned that in the comments earlier.
Yeah, and I'm of course watching this stuff, and I haven't been horrendously busy online because I haven't felt good. My back has been giving me a lot of hell. And when that cold front came in, that's what happened. I couldn't even turn or twist. I was driving a car home after getting milk for the kids, and I went to look over my shoulder to change lanes and went, screamed in the car because I couldn't even turn my head. So I haven't spent the last 3 days on, but I did study the weather. So
always. I looked it up over here and it said that they got about 1 to 2 inches. So nothing super exciting, but there's snow is coming and there's definitely going to be more. So
that front is going to go all the way down to Texas and your area, Rebecca, and you're going to be slightly north of the reaction.
Break out the skis, man.
Yeah, you may get a whole bunch of rain in the next 2 days, and then it's going to run all the way up to Maine. And that's going to cause a whole bunch of people to, they're having a serious high weather. It was 85 in like DC yesterday, which is completely not seasonally normal.
That's a lot.
This hot bubble went all the way up, literally up to Washington or Virginia. And it was in the 80s for most of the area, all the way to Alabama and Little Rock, etc. And they were quite warm. And now that moisture thing went over through Texas and south of you, Rebecca, and now it's heading into the Ozarks and everything. You're going to have the reaction to the moisture front. When that cold front meets that hot warm front, there's going to be quite the reaction. So should be a very interesting week next week for all the seasonal change that's about to hit.
I did see that. It was that Ryan Hall. You know who that is? Ryan Hall. Anyway, he was.
We watched Ryan Hall, y'all.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And he was showing.
Give him a shout out. He does a good job. Although I have to complain.
Ryan Hall. Is he a meteorologist?
Write it down, and it's on YouTube. Ryan Hall, y'all. YALL.
Right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Or YA''LL. Depending on your point of view. I know that the spelling police come out after me regularly. Remember God, how many times have the spelling police come after me? Oh my God. Wow. Love them guys. I am a better speller than I used to be because I was harassed.
You obviously haven't got one of them keyboards with it types into other words.
Yeah,
as
well,
you
for
look
the
at it.
longest time on earlier computers, I did not have functioning spelling check. So this one I do. I don't need it as much, but anyway, yeah, I'm still a terrible typist. But considering I do it every day, I should be far better by now.
I was just telling him that you speak a couple different languages. It's hard to keep track.
Well, yeah, I also, yeah, I Taiwanese for one. I type too fast because I just like I talk, I type way too fast and I hit enter before I actually look down what I just typed at.
Right.
Hey, Sam, there was a question I missed back here, but Karina, she asked about the Skull asteroid. She just wants to know, we are seeing it more and more. Are we seeing it more this time than previous
Yeah,
times?
because well, the angle of where Uri and Atu are going over us this year on this cycle is far more to the left than they've ever been, meaning far more north. As I'm speaking about a morning looking due east at the sunrise. They're coming more over our shoulder now into the north and northwest sky. And so if you look directly up during that transition of the day, you're more likely to see in between Atu and Uri, and that's where the Skull asteroid is. So yes, Robert in New Zealand got some really good pictures, and the Skull asteroid was literally staring downward in this, whereas it's close to this, but it's currently facing more downward with the jaw more to the lower right center plane of the skull, so that the view has changed to the skull. But yes, it's being sighted, especially in southern hemispheres.
Bear with me. Leighandra, I sent you a screenshot just so you could, I don't know. Have you ever seen that before?
Not really.
No, I was accessing, the Google files, and I was going to pull up pictures of the Skull asteroid, like, normal. And I have an error. It says Google 403. That's an error. And it has this little broken robot picture.
Well, we have to remind people also that NASA did announce the Skull asteroid existed. They gave a false orbit and a false reoccurrence orbit ratio, time ratio, on when it would come back in Earth's orbit, and it's not in Earth's orbit. And we've of course proven that because we've seen it far more time than they even said it would even be back once. So, and we cited it hundreds of times in the thing. Should have taken their 3.5 year orbit cycle that they described, because they can't tell you something's out there and it's attached to that without telling you what it's attached to. So they just said it was there because they had so many sightings over the East Coast and stuff in the 2013, 14, and then again in 16 and 17, I think. And the reports were coming in, so they actually had to admit that it was real. And then, of course, they gave fake extra information along with it.
Yeah.
It also goes back to where they talked about us having 2 moons. And I mean, that's been known for a long time that moons is what you count as actual bodies or planetoids, or, planets are also planets. And they don't give us the full count on that either. And that, of course, is man's arrogance or man's inability to understand, or man's willingness not to have us understand. I mean, it could be one of all of the above. Anyway.
NASA be lying their butts off, but they do tell a lot of truths, but like in reverse or half truths. Exactly. It's always something. So you just have to really be able to decipher, because I mean they tell some stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and I take what they say, I pay attention to it, and then I take it with a grain of salt, and then I'll go in and I'll look in further, and then I'll read their statement, and sometimes they're misleading because their statement will have a premise that is inaccurate, and you're going, excuse me?
Right.
But that can't be the way you're describing it. So therefore I know that you're misleading. And you have to weigh everything, all the information, even everything you get off television. I mean, does the mouth match the sound log? If it doesn't, well, then it's been manipulated or reposted by someone else. And or is it a screen capture? What am I watching? Is this somebody that's credible that published this? And now that we're spending more time on YouTube, I try to remind everybody, be careful who you give your likes to or your views. If you're watching somebody's disinformation, you're furthering their career. So don't do that.
Yeah.
If you see it's bad, if the thumbnail is horrendously photoshopped, don't click on it.
Yeah, I got booted out of the stream room, StreamYard a wee while ago, and then got back in again. I don't know if you noticed that it's weird, and I also got a weird message as well. And my other phone just froze and went circle, like buffering.
Yeah.
But this one, it's weird.
Yeah, you see it, Gillian?
And that's what happens. That's what happens to me if I try to put the camera on.
Yeah. Well, my screen is, I can hear you all. I can see everything. All I can see is what I sent you pictures of. It's froze up. Otherwise, I can't back out of that error page. It just says, we're sorry, but you do not have access to this page. That's all we know. Isn't that weird?
Yes, it's
error
weird.
403. Google.
Well, perhaps your feed line is dropping below where it can maintain on the 5G, and then you come back to it. And this does take an awful lot of juice to run all of these pages through with the same location. And then when user levels, or member or viewer levels go up, sometimes the server isn't able to handle it, and then you've got to be switched over, and then you've got transferring of towers. If you're on cell phone, that'll sometimes happen, and that's how they used to overcharge people and get you for roaming charges. Which I paid roaming charges so many times I wanted to scream when I wasn't even going anywhere because they switched towers on me, not me on them. I battled. God, I can't remember what company it was, but I battled them over overcharging me over and over again. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, all that crazy stuff can happen too.
It's happening.
So I try not to point
live
conspiracies, but
right now, no, it's
crazy,
funny.
Man.
No, it's like
it's funny because you started reporting technical issues, then Gillian, and now Jerry Byrne in Nibiru Followers Anonymous 2 said that he can't even join the live stream.
Uh-oh. How come?
I don't know. I sent it the link to him directly through chat. So hopefully we'll see him in a second. But
maybe
it's like they go, oh look, here's another one. Click, let's put him on the list too.
Sometimes if you click on the link a second time, it will let you through better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. Like earlier, I popped on with pre-show, and then I came on, and my picture wouldn't come up. So then I backed out, and I came back, and it was right there. Boom. So it sometimes with this system, apparently you need to be here 1, 2, 3 times, and then it works.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah. I don't want to do too much because I don't want to lose the whole connection.
Right.
I don't want to just disconnect everybody. So I'm careful, but at the same time, I'm not able to change anything on the screen at this point.
Wow.
Well, we are looking at the asteroid group.
Yeah, I wish I would have left it where it was, but no, I didn't think. I've never seen this pop up. It's like a pop up, but it's most of the screen is this error, and I feel like the only way to probably get rid of it is to reboot. I mean, I can't do anything. I really can't.
And if you try that, we could end the stream. In this drawing, which is probably dated in the corner beside my signature on the right, which is cut off, with the red asteroid, and behind the red asteroid, of course, in between Atu, which would be on the upper right in this, and between Uri, which would be the upper left, the Skull asteroid has a group of asteroids along with it. We don't talk about that very often, and those are a handful of little sister size, and that means smaller asteroids. And there's 1 or 2 predominantly bigger ones that are drawn in here. One of them covering the lower chin of the Skull asteroid, and the other one is semi close to it each as well. And then I've got drawings, and we've seen them over the years where they were directly coming straight at us. And so that was how I could draw several of the other older asteroid drawings. We know that we see them coming at us, we see them crossing us, and we see them rounding away from us. So and those are, of course, the rotational patterns of the asteroids underneath Attu and Atsu's moon, and in between Uri and Attu.
I have an asteroid-related question. I asked you maybe a couple months ago, and I think you're still kind of mulling it over. But do we know yet if the Tan asteroid is larger than the leading asteroid, or what do you think?
I think they're similar in size, but I believe the Tan asteroid is smaller.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
I'm going to step away for a minute.
It's okay.
No, don't leave us.
Trying to reboot and see what's going on. It's weirdness. Weirdness is aloof.
Yeah, well, there's always technical difficulties in everything.
Yeah.
Even, I never got my lawnmower in. I got to go out in the cold and take the battery out and all of that. No, the gas. Otherwise, it'll cherry up on me and won't be startable next year. And I got to get it in the shed and all. Oh, joy, 4 inches of snow. It is partially starting to melt off, which is good. It hasn't warmed up yet, but there's a whole lot of cold air coming your direction. Of course, you guys in California are going to be fine. And you over there.
Because I'm freezing, Sam. I'm cold right now. My house.
How many fleece jumpers have you got on? Huh.
Not enough, but I have sweatpants.
Yeah, and you guys pay hellacious amounts of money for power and gas.
I know.
Our electricity's, of course, we supply hydroelectric power, and it used to be coal power too, but where we do a lot of hydroelectric power, and we feed all the way to Washington State, probably some of Oregon. We have a huge power transmission up here in Montana. And so our electricity is a little cheaper, and so is our natural gas, although it has, of course, with everything else, gone up.
Yeah,
inflation. And I fortunately have a pretty warm house. I have 6-inch walls. So, ooh. And then Anderson windows or something like, gas-filled windows, and they're all semi-new within the last, over a decade, because I've lived here 20 years.
What is the foundation of your house made out of?
Now, that's the catch. I am in a double wide, and my floor is always cold. I need to redo my insulation because it's all old. And I need to redo the insulation under my house because my floor is always cold, and I hate it.
I know. Your little toes just be freezing.
Yeah, I tell you, I got my TV blankets out lately. Although, I had the thyroid surgery and everything, so I'm cold all the time, no matter what. And now I'm, even in 75 degrees in the house, I'm cold. Give me a damn blanket. I got to keep my legs warm.
I need something over top of me at all times. Like I get too cold too fast.
Oh, I'm wearing a hoodie for sure right now.
Yeah, so people tease me about how many layers I was wearing because I was an African child and came like, oh, that's like one layer, and you came and step off the plane, you're like, oh. And they were like, oh, never. This is lovely. This is. What's that, Sam?
I have found in my age, I have found and learned living in Montana, working in the mountains for the Bureau of Land Management and everything else. Once you go out into the cold and you work for several hours and you really, really freeze your butt off at the beginning of the year, there's something in your body where you acclimatize after that, where you actually have a physical change that your body says, okay, now I can handle it. And I've noticed that because when you're forced to go out in the snow and work over and over again, and at one point in time when I was, we'd be up running the chainsaws up in the mountains, thinning trees for post and pole projects come summer. You lay down the wood in the winter and then you go pick it up in the summer. And, we'd be out there in t-shirts in really, 30 and 25, 14 degree weather, and you're out there sweating your butt off, and you'd be running around in a t-shirt. But then we'd come back into town and drive our trucks in, and park at this, local BLM parking garage. And if you went after work to the mall, you couldn't even walk in the mall. It was too damn warm. It was just so unbelievably hot. It was like
the kilts on here. They were going obviously to a funeral or something, but they're all running about in their kilts with their combs and their socks and stuff.
Well, it's all that high water.
The dog wants to have a cameo. She wants to say hello to everybody. She's hungry, apparently. Hi. Hello.
Oh.
What one have you got? Oh.
Yeah, I haven't heard the cat yelling in a while today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Well,
So,
I apologize. I had no plans for this to happen. Now I clicked on it and it says this content is blocked. Contact the site owner to fix the issue.
gee, I hope you haven't been.
I know.
I hope you haven't been flagged and tagged and bagged.
Google is Google the site owners technically? Oh my goodness.
Well, are we offending because we're showing the skull asteroid? Is that?
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's what we were talking about when this happened, and it reminds me because almost a month ago, I was live on TikTok, and as soon as I said red asteroid, blue asteroid, green asteroid, just like that, my live got suspended for a week. I couldn't. Something about talking about asteroids seems to trigger the technology.
Well, I do have to share that NEOs, near Earth objects, within a certain distance between Earth and above Earth, fall under a category known as classified. And I have to tiptoe between that fine line regularly. Yeah. So perhaps we could keep that in mind in the near future. But then, of course, that's going to limit our description. And are we going to have to say asteroid A, B, C, D? I mean,
I just want to tell the truth.
Or another word for asteroid that's code.
Yeah. I was telling my son earlier, we were talking because he gets in trouble on TikTok often. And I mean, it's anytime you talk about conspiracies, you're in hot, tricky, situation. And that seems to get
sort of.
I mean, kind of, sort of, but yeah, you just got.
I'm glad you're watching some of that.
Yeah, you need code words if you want to discuss.
Oh yeah, I know. They've nailed me because I listed. Of course I talked about this before, but I listed the number of people killed in a serious war, and I won't even go to the actual which war, so I don't get flagged. But I mentioned a number of one side, not even the entire amount of people killed, but I mentioned the such and such a side had lost X amount of citizens, people, civilians, whatever, including soldiers, or perhaps I don't even remember exactly, but I got flagged for that, and I went into 8 weeks of Facebook jail.
Wow.
I always thought about that. I'm like, I wonder if it wasn't so much that you were off with the number, or that the number that you said was more accurate than what they have in history books, being a larger number.
Or just even talking about it anyway, because they just are very touchy about certain things.
We probably made an oopsie by talking about NASA and these asteroids.
Well, you could be tagging NASA hate speech, but we have to remind everyone that this is the freedom of information.
I don't hate NASA. I just want.
Yeah, I don't hate that either.
We just need a book with all the code words in it. I'm like, right.
Well, their info goes up also. They're not talking to each other at NASA. One department doesn't necessarily share everything it's doing with the other department, and all information goes up in the government. Never comes down. That was part of my issue with the project that I was recruited for, was we never got to know what we were doing. We just had to go up, and then we were never told any more than that. And which is part of what I learned to do later on by being online with people around the world. Did I find out that, yes, these skills actually panned out.
Yeah. Never telling you what you're doing or what the purpose is. Just do your job. Be quiet.
Turn in your report. We'll set your, well, they took it right before we even left. I mean, it wasn't like we got to take our homework home. We were doing it there. And then before we left, they got our information, and then off we went to our daily lives and then came back.
They made sure of that. I'm
They give you a pad and a paper, legal stuff that they can rip the 5 pages off of, and then, either reuse, throw away, or do whatever. But yeah, we just filled out information, and then we were given targets, and then we were supposed to look for them in our mind, and then that's what we did, and then we wrote down what we saw. So.
And you're talking about the Farsing project, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, which is now
But
declassified, which is why we can mention it.
Like, you never did get an answer. Like, you turned your answers in, but they never told you what it was going towards.
They never told you if you were even right or not. They never gave you information that you were accurate or inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, okay, here's your doodle pad. Here's the target, and I'm going to want you to doodle for the next 2 hours. And then you turn it in.
Wow. How many other people were doing that with you?
There's usually 1 or 2 or 3 people in the room. I don't remember a lot of what happened, but that's my impression.
Right. And how did you learn how to do that? Like, where did that?
Well, it had to do partially with my military test scores, and that I scored out, racially and the psychic abilities quotient ratio and my IQ ratio and all of that. And then they looked into my paperwork, and I mean, they listed a number of reasons why they were recruiting me, and part of it was my heritage, and etc. So, and then, my skills they do work. And so they were right in many ways. They were right about a lot of things in many ways, and wrong about others. I mean, they don't approach somebody in the middle of Montana, at some, paid private school for nothing. And so I don't have all the details, because I was a kid at the time, and nor did I completely understand the magnitude of what I was doing at the time. Even when I, wrote my term paper, I was just writing out an example that I believed that we had to have a binary solar system. Just the way that I saw advanced chemistry and compound structure according to our solar system, and I never believed in Einstein and the gravity well crap and gravity in basis, because it was so much more to it than that.
That's what's so wonderful and pure about a young brain. It's not boxed in yet, and obviously you just were purely like, wow.
And when I got to be in front of the government scientists, they were going, "Oh, the unmitigated gall that you would dare think that you could do this." And lo and behold, my answer was, "Well, hey, you guys invited me here, remember?" And that's when they got a little mad at me, and it digressed from there to swearing and screaming.
Do you ever wonder what all your parents were privy to kind of like give consent?
My parents barely even remember it occurred later on. And there could be a conspiracy theory behind that alone.
I believe so.
I asked my stepmother if she remembered the occurrence, and my father was excruciatingly disappointed that I didn't take the government job.
Yeah.
And after being approached, and here's my card, and these people show up, and my dad was also sort of an authority suppressed individual that believed automatically, instantly, if the government tells you to do something, boy, God, you better jump, because my father was in a concentration camp during World War II. He was a Dutch citizen, and he was taken off the streets in Amsterdam in, I believe, 1946 or 45, or it could have been 44. I don't know the year he was taken off, but he was gone for 3 years. So to the end of the war, he got out He got out from the Germans by a medical pass just prior to the end of the war. Because he helped save a German colonel from drowning, which was just a freak occurrence because somebody was drowning. My father dove in, saved the guy, etc. And so they sent him back to Amsterdam. But anyway, that's the story of my father. So my father wanted me to work for the government because the government had told me to work for them. and he was kind of disappointed that I didn't.
Yeah, I can get it.
But he didn't.
I get both sides very well.
Well, I tried to deal with what they wanted, and I saw an uncomfortable beyond that. And I didn't want to be sequestered for the rest of my life on an Air Force base. And because the first thing they did was hand me the keys to my house and the keys to my car. And I had to chuckle because there was a K car back then. And I just laughed. It was like, God, can't you buy me a car with a little something? I mean, hell.
What's a K car?
Yeah, it was a K car. I was just going to say.
Oh, you got to look that up.
That's like a standard government looking car.
Chrysler back in the tighten your belt late 70s, early 80s, when Chrysler was folding, they made K cars, and it was by a Chrysler K car. All you have to do is type that in.
Okay.
They were a drastic piece of shit that lasted maybe 2 years.
These are not cute.
No, they're ghastly, and that was, I can still remember that to this day because it was like,
oh, go to Google this.
Why didn't you just buy me a Pinto? I mean, my God, I could run faster than that car can go.
It reminds me of like the classic old movies where the detective gets out of the car, slams the door. Like that's what that car.
Oh no, go to see this now.
The tire falls off, and
it rolls down the street.
Fine, go.
Oh my!
I don't care. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've had some good cars in my time, but anyway, I was, when I have a GTO at home and they want to hand me a K car, it's like, wow.
No, I've got to see this now.
GTO, a 66 Le Mans, and a 1967 Pontiac Tempest.
Oh, right. Yeah. It looks like something at Hawaii 5-0. Looks like something out of Hawaii 5-0.
With a long French coat.
They were screwy little weak little 6-cylinder engines that got semi-good gas mileage, and that was the whole idea, because that was right after the gas crisis, and then the government wanted to make inexpensive cars so the government could, which was smart, and that was a early Reagan era thing where they were trying to cut major expenses. And if you look now with the government, all kind of companies are paying $100,000 for a freaking truck now, and it's just this ghastly fleecing of America and all the trucks.
It kind of reminds me of the Fiats that we used to get in Johannesburg. They imported all these cars called Fiats, and as they explained it,
I've owned Fiats in my time.
Yeah, they got us one, a little orange one that had like a hatchback, and when they put it together in the shop, they must not have put the screws in the door at the back, and my dad pulled it up to let us kids go in the back, and the door came off in his hand, and he's like, oh.
Oh my goodness.
But when you live around the ocean, car bodies have a tendency to break down faster. And Italian cars, which is what a Fiat is, Italian cars don't fare well near sea level.
Well, this was up in Joburg, so they'd given it to us to write about because Dad was on the mines and that, and they thought, oh, well, we'll give them this wee hatchback jobby. But there was also those little box cars,
right,
Fiat 124 or something.
Yeah, I had 4-door little box one, and it was green, Yeah, it was olive green. I'll never forget it. It was a great little engine, the little overhead cam 4, but it was.
Ours was a hideous mustard color, but we like to lie on its bonnet and count the stars at night. It's cool. Yeah. Dad would honk his horn when he came home, and then we'd lie on the bonnet, and he'd drive us down the driveway. Woo! Goodbye, train.
If I could remove that off of your photo, Gillian, I would. I wish I could see you and you're talking, but I can't. And I can't change it. So,
here we are.
Will it let you go back to the 4-way?
It won't. No. The whole everything, no matter what I click, nothing changes.
Well, we are at the 5-minute mark from 2 hours, so we could probably talk for another.
We were planning on cutting today's show short because people had other things they're needing to do, and so this was part of the plan anyway, to keep today's show shorter than our typical marathon. But anyway, I guess we will go ahead and close today's show. Hopefully, when I reboot, this error just, goes away forever. Never seen this before. I got pictures. I'll share it with everybody next week so y'all can see what was happening. But
well, like I said, sometimes if
bummer.
carrier changes, some of your middle programming can shut down on you. That's what happened to me when I went first on this morning or this afternoon. When I first came on, I had to go off in order to bring things right. So yeah, it could be one of those.
I can't even click on like end stream. Like if I want to end the show, I could probably X out the whole thing. I'll just do that. I'll exit out.
Shut down your whole laptop, probably.
I'm gonna just reboot.
Yeah, you don't want to X out your whole laptop there.
I know. Like I said, it's very weird. Can't imagine what would trigger something like that. But like Sam said, there's a whole long list of things it could be. So it makes you paranoid though. Anytime you repeatedly have technical issues right in key moments when you're talking about something in particular, I don't know, you get paranoid after a little bit.
Look how many times that you and I have been on the phone and we'll be talking, and right when I get to talking about what's going on now, I mean, we talk about past stuff and other, but then when I start to describe what I saw this week, all of a sudden, boom, or you can't hear me anymore or whatever, and then you try to call back 3 and 4 times and can't get through, that kind of crazy stuff.
I do. I totally remember. So this is way better. I mean, at least we don't have that problem.
Yeah, we stay on longer. We're not being cut off on the phone.
This is better, but
14 phone calls later, oh yeah, okay. Then we talked for long, then we realized, gee, we talked for 5 hours on the phone, oh wow.
But it's so easy to talk like that because you're learning so much, and then you get excited because you remember stuff, and you're sharing something. Yeah. There I go again. I'm just getting all wound up again.
You want to bring back what you saw this last week, and it's so cool, and oh my God, I can't believe it, and here it is, and I got to share it. Did you see it too? And oh my, and then then we got to grind through. Well, what is it? And then do the drawings.
Then they go shut down.
Yeah.
And most people
I'm already sitting there. I'm already trying to even plan ahead for how I'm going to draw next month. Of course, I don't even normally think about it yet, and it's already crossing my mind, going, okay, I got to spend more time. If I walk away for a couple of days where I looked at stuff yesterday and I was online the day before, but I liked, but I didn't actually sit down to tell everybody what they had. And there are days like that where I just don't want to sit and type for the next 3 hours and comment on everybody's stuff. And then I'll just like it and move on and look, okay. And that's what I did yesterday. I wasn't really grabbing stuff and putting it here and sending it here. I was just watching what everybody else was doing.
I'm just checking real quick to see if there's any questions that we might have missed real quick, but I don't think that there are. I'm sure more questions will come in over the week as people are.
Well, that feed may have been cut also if she's not getting in new.
Ooh, I hope not. I mean, I still see it on Facebook. Yeah, we're still live on Facebook.
Okay. So it should be on Facebook, YouTube, and then on my personal page too. So, but yeah.
I'm chatting with y'all.
I know, right, guys? Well, I guess let's go ahead and end the show here, and then we will be back Tuesday evening. It'll be myself and Jesus Marquez and Samuel Hofman and possibly Leighandra, maybe. But she does want to join us on a Tuesday night episode soon. Yeah. So we're working on that. And anyway, I just appreciate you all of you being here with me and all of us. And looking forward to our next show. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Good afternoon, Sky Watchers.
Yes.
I should put it on Northern Skies as well. I just haven't gotten around to it because I wasn't well.
Okay, we can do that. I can give, because I have 3 options. I have to be an admin to do that, but I can give you all access to put it on things that you're admins of. So yes, and Sam. Sam could do it. I've been copying it over to the Montana Skywatcher, but
yeah, if we put it over onto there, then maybe some of the local people here will start like waking up and actually seeing stuff, because the young guy that I'm on in the kitchen with said, "Oh, what was your podcast about?" Because I'd let it slip when we were busy working, just said in general, because they said, "Oh, where were you for so long?" "Oh, I was doing a podcast." "Oh, you're on a podcast?" "Oh, yeah, Rebecca says we're co-hosts." So, oh, cool. And then the other one was getting curious as well. So, maybe,
yeah, that's what
I
you
don't
said.
know, maybe
Friends that were able to better understand what you have been talking about this whole time.
Maybe they will, I mean, maybe it's time. I don't know.
Right. I know.
That's
cool. I told 3 new people about it today as well, and they were kind of open. I really want to get some business cards made up. I keep forgetting to do that, but I've had so many opportunities in person to hand somebody something.
Yes, here's my card.
Yeah, they're not going to remember.
I've still got about 250 of mine, and I need to make a new, because we have to completely re-add to the whole list of where our videos are available. Radio Wasteland, Fight for Our Freedom Radio, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Nibiru Followers Anonymous, Montana Skywatchers Anonymous, Nibiru, all of that. That all needs to be on a card, including a reference to YouTube as well, etc.
Right. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to make it happen. So
yeah,
just
had I had the money, I would have had that printed for you by now. But I
hear you. I'm thinking.
I was doing mechanics and plumbers this year.
We have lots of plans of things to do to make it more easier for people to find the information and just be able to look through all of it. So it'll take time.
Yeah, so they can look through it themselves and then eventually get to wanting to.
Or even look through the information first and then come to the live stream with questions, So
that's the cool part, is if we're like at the ground level, like we're just like, it's us, creating all of this that's eventually going to, just be more well known. For sure.
Sky's the limit type vibes.
It'd be nice if you could have like an area on here as well where a person could come on, ask their question, and then jump off and let the next person on, and then they would feel more connected.
I like that idea.
They can comment on YouTube videos after post production. Yeah, that we can scroll through too.
Yeah. No.
Anyway.
I feel like there should be a time where people who want to come on, and whether they be seen or not, up to them, but have 10 minutes or so per person to personally ask Sam a question. I feel like that would be something people would like. So I
think we're at that point now. There must be a bunch of people who are also burgeoning on. They're also wanting to explore.
Oh, I know there is.
Yeah, so we're gonna make that happen. And for those people that do want to hop on here and be part of the show, and then next week we'll have a feature guest, which will be Andy Poole from the UK, and we're going to be looking over some of his pictures and video. He has a lot of my personal favorites, several. So he's going to join us.
Yay.
So I'm looking forward. I know, right? We'll have
love his pictures. They're so real. He just got a real mojo.
Always sending stuff in.
He's another person that's really good to follow because his editing skills are perfect for bringing out additional detail. So.
Right.
Gee, we're sure ending this, aren't we?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're starting again.
We're official 5 minutes past the hour here.
I know.
I hate to be the mediator on that one, but I was watching the clock.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here, and we will see you all Tuesday night. Join us then, and we'll be showing you all kinds of new stuff. So,
bye.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest
of the day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I just realized we're still on. So, but I could have done this all along, and now I know I'm able to do that. I'm able to close it out and not lose my connection with the live stream. And there's still several people here. All right. Well, good to know, right, guys? And I do want to, if Third Eye Cam is still listening, I do see your comment. Well, I saw it earlier. You had a question, but I'll go back and find it. I just wanted you to know I did see it before things froze up. All right, cool. Well, cool. Now I know I'm able to do those things and not lose everybody. Hey, Andy, we were just talking about you. I don't know if you were here. Trying to change this there. Yeah, we were just talking about Andy and how you're going to be with us next Saturday. So I'm already looking forward to that because we're going to be, reviewing some of your work, and we were bragging on you in case you didn't hear us. We were. So, yeah, we had to hop off because, well, Sam needed to go. He had some things he needed to do. Leighandra had things to do. And then my computer froze up. So everything just fell into place perfectly. So, yeah, it was a good idea. We changed you to next Saturday because everything kind of, came apart. I don't know who this is, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's getting better. I mean, each week I'm adding more and more to all this. Like, you have to build this service into, what you want. And so I've been trying to find music and background pictures, and, it goes on and on and on, all the options. So I'm excited because I feel like it's Zane. Hey, okay, cool. Yeah, Jesus and I were talking about you the other day, and we want you to come on our show on a Tuesday night. I hope you say yes, because I'd like to show some of your work as well. So we were just showing, let me just pull it really quick. Let's see. We were just looking at this video. This is one of my new favorites. Right here. But that whole curved area, that dark blue, light blue, that's happening because of the planet Uri, and that's from Zane. And we're not too far apart. Sometimes he's right in the same town. I guess he moves around because he's always in the vicinity of Northeast Oklahoma. But sometimes we see the very same thing. We compare our pictures. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, for sure. Let me or Jesus know. Sorry. Yeah, let one of us know. And for sure, maybe this Tuesday, if you're available, just whenever you are available, let me know, because I would love to go over some of your work too. Some of you guys are I don't know if I'm sure equipment is a big part of it. You have better equipment, which it shows. So cool. I know Jesus has a lot of great lenses and cameras that he uses. So maybe one day there's one that you can just clip on your cell phone. It just clips over. I don't know. He was showing me that, and it a wide angle turns it into a wide angle lens. So I can at least do something like that. So, but anyway, and I saw this from Third Eye. He says, you have been hacked via your access control on your computer control because they do not want you to pass certain information. Well, yeah, I mean, I can't help but think that, and I don't want to just be over the top and, go out there and think that things that are like that are possible, but I know they're possible. It's just, as many technical problems as I've had throughout every platform, but there's just been so many. I do think there's a connection. Yeah. And that's nice. He said, thank you all for having this video vlog today. It was all worth it. God bless. I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. I love our shows. I'm glad we are finally doing this. Sam took some coaxing on Sam's part to get it this far along. He's been mentioning it to me and Jesus and Mark. He's been talking about us doing something like this for about a year, so I'm glad we're finally to this point where we're actually doing it, because I feel like we can pass information along so much better, way faster if we're just coming out and saying it and showing the proof that's behind it. So it's all good. As I figure out more and more, then it just get better and better. So anyway, well, I guess I will go ahead and now officially end the stream now that I can. And now at least I've learned things I can do. I can back out and come back in without losing you all. So otherwise, thank you all again for joining us, and check back with us Tuesday night. And we will just keep going and showing you all kinds of great pictures. And hopefully Zane will be with us. We'll work out a time for him. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, I love you all. And I will chat with you all again later online. And we will see you all in a few days. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.